Hello, welcome. So, I was working with somebody and they're a teacher, physical therapist, and they made the comment of like, wow, you could make a dissertation around this. And so it kind of reminded me that, oh, okay, I should probably get to communicating this in my own words. And not that I understand it better, but just that people like to interact with different versions of the same information. So a lot of times, I'm a licensed massage therapist. I have an ecology degree, and in massage therapy, we definitely learn about systems of the body, just as other medical practitioners do. And less of what we learn, and not less, but the consistent limbic, more than just mirror neuron shared neurological experience. What do they currently call it? Somatic empathy. So I really consistently formulate these, rough holograms of the individuals I'm working with, and we spend an hour or 2 hours together where I can feel the skeletal muscle as well as the smooth muscle contractions, the responses, the pulsations when the individual and their body responds and they are not aware of it. And then when I am aware that this feeling is subconscious, and when stimulated will be painful, but there's no tissue damage here. There's no swelling, there's no heat, there's no loss of function, there's no redness, there's not even pain at this point. But I can physically feel the discrepancy in the tissue. I can feel the change in the density, the minutia of pressure. You can feel a 10% difference in pressure for the force you're exerting. So when I push with 1/10 of a pound, I can feel the difference of 100th of a pound of force. I can feel these little bits within the body. And then I push a little more and the person says, "Ow, that did hurt. I didn't think that hurt." And I've only increased the force a small decimal, So I spend a lot of time with this hologram of individuals, and then their affirmation, confirmation, their expression of what's going on. And so I see people in pain, and I experience people's pain in a way that a lot of other clinicians just simply don't get the same time or consistency and amount of information through tactile response. I see exactly the consistent statistics and proportions and presentation of the body of science around mind-body syndrome and neural circuit pain. These fMRIs have shown consistently, powerfully, within scientific analytical models of statistics, which I remember doing in college, working in a laboratory for the University of Maine as an environmental scientist. These are consistent mathematical models. These are what we use to analyze the information of these fMRIs, and these are the things that have shown over and over and over again that pain is being generated in the brain. What is expressed? Potentially 13 consistent areas of the brain that generate and reduce pain signal, pain experience. And when pain is chronic beyond 3 months, the predominant locations of these firing sectors of the 13 areas of the brain more shift to be predominantly in the 13 areas of the sectors of the brain that are more located in the learned and the memory and the emotive centers. The brain is learning pain and symptoms, psychophysiologic symptoms, are very consistently associated with neural circuit creation. So things like paresthesia, numbness, all the way to syncope and passing out, dissociation. As Dr. Schubiner says, the brain can generate any symptom, any experience you've ever had in connection with your physical body is mediated through the brain. And the brain can generate any of those symptoms because that's the mediating force for the expression of your personality and self and experience in connection with your body. The brain consistently kind of stinks at mimicking true injury. So this is not to say that when you're sliced, when a virus or a bacteria or a parasite is physically present and enacting change and within the body, if there's a tumor, multiple tumors, these kinds of, or fractures, how about that? A kidney stone. There are things that are currently physically present, and these can stimulate, constant nociceptive input. But when you're running from a tiger, your shattered ankle doesn't hurt. Our brains are salience networks. They're going to focus on what's most important. And so even when we have, that structural damage, even then the brain can shift. And then when we come back, it will be constant as long as it's not the least important, So there's ways to pay attention to the way the brain is providing information, and you can determine if there is a underlying structural, a secondary cause for pain due to tissue damage. And that happens. It happens a significant amount of the time. In chronic pain, studies are pointing to it being less than 15% though. And when you've got tissue damage, what's the classic acronym for inflammation? Inflammation is our friend. Sharp. Swelling. Heat. Feeling of heat. A loss of function. Redness. And pain. So the brain doesn't mimic all of these very well, but it can mimic some. But when we've got real tissue damage, there's these present factors. There's ways to rule in and to rule out what's going on. And there are consistent patterns of thought processes, neural states that precipitate expression of these circuits.